Okay, that was season 4, episode 7 of Haikyuu. That was good. That was really good.
I felt emotional. I appreciated when Hinata was used in this episode. Like, obviously we're used to Hinata being the literal focus basically every episode. Obviously until this season. This season it's kind of been like, let's kind of focus on Kageyama almost an equal amount, which is nice. But I like that they're using Hinata's kind of connection with Kageyama to help everyone better understand Kageyama and to kind of diffuse any of the miscommunication or tension that might be there.
He's a translator.
He is basically a Kageyama translator. He understands Kageyama. He obviously pays attention to what Kageyama does on the court, especially more so now that he's like really into paying attention. So it's just really sweet to use the person that we've mainly been focusing on to be the one to help us and the other characters better understand someone else.
Well, it's like the perfect mix because you wonder if that wouldn't have been the case unless Hinata had his training arc this season. Like, sure, he knows Kageyama very well, but that paired with his new ability to understand the game of volleyball and everybody and what they should be doing, like, makes it for the perfect translator, right? Like, he was like, Kageyama could have had a better set there.
I think the perfect word for basically just to sum up the theme of both what Hinata has learned and what he used here and what Kageyama is learning is awareness.
Yeah.
Like, Hinata has now become more aware of people that do something different than him on the court. And then Kageyama is becoming more aware, I guess, of how he communicates with people and what he's doing to create certain situations on the court with people.
There was like a really good line in addressing the fact that Kageyama has been playing to cover everybody's weaknesses. And I thought that was great because like it's not downplaying, it's not like going at the other people as much and saying that he's like playing worse himself. It's just like instead of like he's doing what he thinks will benefit the situation best at the moment rather than trying to get the best out of them.
And they phrased it in the episode as not only covering their weaknesses, but they also phrased it as he's basically enabling their bad habits.
Yes, and amazing.
Which you can see how that would, in one way you phrase it, sound really good. And then in another way you phrase it, realize that it just creates like a stagnant environment where no one is getting better.
Yeah. Getting better, right? Like in my personal view, like the best way to improve in anything, like in any relationship or any game or sport is, oh my God, honesty. Like if you can be honest to the degree of like pointing out everywhere that you yourself fall short and you have that in a relationship with somebody, friendship with somebody or teammate, and they do the same back to you, it will breed the best result possible. Like you're going to have such a great foundation for a relationship. You're going to be able to call each other out and better each other when they are getting sloppy, for the term that they used in this episode, because you'll be used to that honesty and that level of like sincerity.
But they added like a more complicated level to that honesty, which is realistic, with Asahi being like, I'd rather you tell me, but Tanaka being like, I'd rather you don't tell me that you're not going to be setting to me as much. And like, that's interesting. Like people setting their boundaries, they're setting kind of, hey, for my emotional and mental health during the game and my morale, my anxiety would take over. I'd be like, why isn't he setting to me? You know? So I would like it communicated to me. And so that adds like complication because 100% honesty is not always the best for everybody. But I guess, 100% honesty is the best, but sometimes just you don't have to say it. You don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Or you do have to say things sometimes. Just if you're going to say something, be honest.
Yeah. God, I don't know why this is the first time I think I've ever related to Kageyama to this degree. Like, I'm thinking about like sports that I play or like games that I play. And I'm like, holy shit, like, that's so right. Like, I've had moments where like I felt like the king of the court, like IGL in like a game, and like I was like, god damn it, like that's not a good thing. Like, we can just all like hang out and vibe. But I think that there is like the balance that you can like hang out with people but still give direction and good, like everybody can, you know.
And I think like learning to have healthy communication and healthy acceptance of critiques in any form, whether it's in a sport, like on the court, in a sport, in the classroom, in relationships, anywhere. If you can learn to be able to handle honesty or critiques or being able to actually communicate how you feel or listen to someone else communicate how they feel, if you can learn that, then you are just steps ahead in terms of being a healthy, happy person.
You're setting yourself up for victory.
Victory in all areas of your life, honestly.
Like, honestly, like, the best thing about this episode was the character writing. You pointed it out, and I noticed it, and Hinata changing how he is referring to someone else because his situational awareness knows that like the other people around him don't know that person's name, so then he changes it up to their setter. Like, it's such like detailed character writing like throughout the entirety of this episode, like how Asahi wants it to be handled different for him versus other people. Like, it was such a highlight. You
bringing up the Koganagawa thing is perfect, because the awareness is, if you're talking to people and you said, Koganagawa did this, their mind would purely just be thinking, who's that? Instead of listening to the rest of what you're saying.
And the point of it.
And then they'd be like, oh, that's the setter? And it'd be a longer conversation. And there'd be confusion. They might not pick up on what you're saying in the end because they're so stuck on, oh, wait, who's Koganagawa on the court? I don't know.
That was a great episode. You said something about the art this episode too. There was a really, really, really awesome shot of when Kageyama is like being the king. I know my tosses are so good, like, so please score more often. I just like, I'm a really big fan of like thick black lines and like the sketchiness, but it looks so good. It looks hand drawn. It like really does.
It brought me back to obviously our first kind of interactions with Kageyama when we first started the show. And it was really awesome to have that come back, because someone doesn't just change silently and not have an arc like have us be able to see them change. He wouldn't just change from being the king and have no working through that we would see and or reverting back. Like, it had to happen, and I'm glad that it happened, that he had to face it again, because it's kind of just been skirted on throughout 4 seasons now, where people refer to him as that, and he just kind of gets grumpy, but he's not doing anything kingly.
You're so right. I'm trying to, even in my head, compare it to other forms of media, but I'm having trouble like finding a perfect comparison. But like, you don't just hang up your fault. And then like, I'm thinking of a very specific example that I don't want to say because of a spoiler for you, but like, if you're a bad guy and you're a bad guy for this reason, but you become a good guy, great, you're a good guy now, but it's very two-dimensional. What makes that writing great is if that good guy becomes an even greater guy by realizing his past fault and using it to produce a positive result. Like, Kageyama, like, the whole king thing, like, if this series ended with him just being like, oh, I'm not the king of the court anymore, and it never being addressed again, it would have felt cheap.
It was like, it's basically like he was just trying to not confront it and trying to not think of it and trying to just deny it and or be defensive or upset whenever it was brought up.
Or just think of it as only a bad thing.
Or just think of it as only a bad thing. And it's kind of like, it was like he was walking down the street and he saw like something that he thought was poop and he walked around it and it turns out it wasn't necessarily poop. It was maybe like $1 million. I don't know.
Yeah. Honestly, one of my favorite episodes of the season. I thought that they did use Hinata really well this episode. It was sparingly, but really well. Oh my god, Kyoko apparently takes like the most in-depth notes in the world because she realized like tosses were different.
I know. I love that it's like she didn't say it first when normally I would think she would be the person that would point out stuff like that, or like Coach Ukai or something. But for Hinata to be the first one that said, oh, and Suga being like talking about how someone has like grown, and he's like, yeah, Kageyama this, Kageyama that, and like Suki, yeah, and Suga's like, no, I meant you. I was like,
it's very easy to draw a comparison to a proud parent, but it makes it better that it isn't, and it's actually an upperclassman because they're seeing the growth of their underclassmen like in real time, and it's so cool. The whole like crowning the king moment, right? I love it. I didn't even realize there was a dog on that towel until it happened.
It's so cute.
And the transition of like
it has to be Hinata's towel. He would be the one with having like a puppy on it. He totally would. If
they're like the transition between like the court that they're on to Kageyama in his jersey, like with like the dump in the background.
Trash.
It's so good, dude.
Oh, and his smile afterwards is the best thing ever.
I love it. It's amazing.
But yeah, art style wise, I'm totally really starting to dig this kind of definitely more like freehand kind of fun style. I mean, I feel like it enhances the emotions.
Yeah.
It makes the funnier moments funnier. It's like the emotions are more... Not a lot of people, you can tell how they're feeling emotionally on their face. There's a lot of people who aren't very...
You can just say me, okay.
Yeah. Full of expressions. I am the opposite. People know how I'm feeling, whatever that may be, all the time. And they normally see very dramatic expressions on my face, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm only like, if I'm watching a show and immersed, like I'm there, like I'm doing everything, like just oh my god, but like instant. But like in real life, I'm always like quiet. I don't want to like bother anybody with like my feelings.
But if we were in this show, you would see all of our emotions on our faces.
Because it's drawn so well. I love it. I like the style. So I could be wrong here, so apologies if I am, but I had heard that Coach Yukai's voice actor had passed away, or was no longer the voice actor for Coach Yukai in this season. And I think if that's the case, I think I can tell, but I don't think it's like, I think this voice actor is doing a great job.
I hadn't even thought about it. Like, it hadn't occurred to me. It didn't stand out as being a huge, massive difference. So if that is the case, then the voice actor did an amazing job at becoming the character and not doing anything that took me out of it for a second, being like, wait, what?
Exactly. I feel it.
That doesn't sound like him.
It feels like he's the character, and I think that's notable and awesome. I love this episode. I didn't want it to end.
I love that he was trying to make his hair flat. Like,
was he? Okay, so I
think he was trying to act like he looked like Kageyama, because he said that he was quoting Kageyama here, saying, the setter's the most dominant role, it's the coolest. Taking us back to
So he was trying to like act like him, and then like, I love it.
It feels like they were like years younger in season 1 when they had that interaction.
Right? It really does.
Like, why does it feel like they've been in school for 4 years? Like, 4 seasons, it's been 4 years.
Because in the short amount of time that they have had, they've developed as much as it would take me to develop over 7 years, you know? Like, it's amazing. Good.
Yep.
Good.
Good.
You good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.
Realize that it just creates like a stagnant environment where no one is getting better. Realize that it just creates like a stagnant environment where no one is getting better. just like a stagnant environment.
It's like a stagnant environment.